What's going on, everybody? Max Efford Maxwell here. The biggest lesson that I've learned recently is the relationships, whether that be, friendships or, significant other relationships, that are the hardest are often the ones that are the most worthwhile. Because, let's face it, we all want our relationships to be easy. We all want everything to, move smoothly, and there to be no conflict. And it's a cliche thing to mention because obviously if there were no conflict in a relationship, it would be incredibly boring. But at the same time, though, when the conflict does arise, a part of ourselves wonders why there isn't any conflict to begin with. And that's something that I had to think about because I'm aware that I've had definitely a false perception of what makes a good friendship or good relationship. Like I always think, man, the relationship has to, meet the criteria I have in my head subconsciously, and as well as the relationship that I have this friend or either relationship with parents. They have to, I would create all these scenarios in my head about, what if I'm not good enough for this person, for them? What if I, what if I have to look a certain way in order to interact with them all the time? What if I have to, what if they'll lose respect for me if I'm not as assertive? What if, what if they'll not want to be my friend anymore if I go to speak my mind, which in that case, they weren't your friend to begin with. But that's all being mentioned because that's something that God really has brought to my attention more now, because I found that the more conflict that you have in certain relationships, conflict in the sense of there are two options. So say you're in a relationship, friendship, and there's conflict, but within that conflict there's a inner growth you find within yourself from that circumstance, and you begin to grow to understand where that person's coming from more, where that person was working to communicate, and then you grow more respect for that relationship. On the other hand, if it's conflict where there is confusion to the point where every time you work to improve that relationship, the confusion persists, or conflict in terms of your energies don't clash. So say you communicate with somebody and afterwards your energy is drained. That is that is an example of a conflict that is detrimental, as opposed to a conflict that is meant to enhance you. Because we can never escape conflict. Conflict is always going to be there. And the more that we escape conflict, the more that we escape pain, the more pain that we'll experience later. Because that's something that I've been doing a lot. Because gonna be upfront, I've been getting into negative thought patterns, negative loop, just negativity as a whole. There were times where I've been you know, I've, sinned against God, caved into lust, caved into selfishness, as opposed to this quarter. But God's teaching me that you have to go through difficult situations in order to find fulfillment with what is in front of you. And of course, that in the long run, that gets tough. Obviously, you want to find that brevity into something comforting, but there's some moments, specifically maybe, God is just he keeps pulling those punches. He keeps telling me to keep pushing myself, keep working out those conflicting thoughts, keep working out mental health, keep working out just my schedule and how to best work my schedule, and reminding me how important a schedule is towards success, and all these factors when it comes to living our lives. And the path towards that becomes so much easier when you have that self-awareness. So you always remember between the difference of a detrimental conflict and an enhancing conflict, because as soon as we think of a conflict, we just need to think, man, I gotta rush away from this as soon as possible, and we come to generalize conflict as bad so much that we're always running away from our problems, instead of understanding that conflict is meant to make us grow, depending upon the circumstance, depending upon the person, depending upon the situation. You have to not see conflict face value all the time. That happens too when you get complacent on your self-improvement journey. You just see all conflict as everything that you have to avoid, because you don't want to do the mental work in realizing the difference between good and bad conflict, or conflict that's meant to help you or conflict that's meant to hurt you. So we get complacent and we run away, or we do everything to distract ourselves or deny it. And I've really I've been doing that mostly because when we get into this state, we do not know who to fall back on, what our grander purpose is, because when you have a grander purpose, you embrace all sorts of conflict because that's part of the journey. But obviously, also, when you're confused about your purpose, you want to avoid all tough situations, because you're scared of the unknown, really. But when we push through that conflict, then that's when we realize that I have to push, say for example, I have to push through that uncomfortability of connecting with somebody that isn't seamless, because then I will see the blessing that comes with this relationship. Because specifically with where I am at art school, you have to consistently put yourself out there, consistently be assertive, and consistently to make yourself known, and to not let others jealousy or negativity into your head, because you're going to face that emotion of conflict when speaking to somebody all the time. Of course, we all wish you're going to have that situation where you talk to somebody, it's so seamless and you want to talk to them all the time, but you can't always expect that to happen. You have to, in order to build those long-lasting relationships with friends and family, you have to embrace the conflict that comes with the conversation. When you're in the conversation, you have to embrace the delayed gratification, the possible boredom, the intimidation, because at times, since you really don't, because in your mind you're telling yourself, I really do not want to be here, be in this conversation, because it feels too much work for my flesh. I want to do something to make my flesh feel good, but you have to push through that, because some of the conversations you have with people, it could be the most important conversations that you'll ever have. And how will you know if you never embrace the uncomfortability, embrace the socially awkwardness? Because if you know the person beforehand, and as well as you also knowing that it requires more effort to communicate with this person, but at the same time, once you get that communication going, you and this person both get along extremely well, then it's worth it. You just have to be comfortable with the uncomfortability of starting a conversation. And that comes with anything in life. You have to be comfortable with the conflict that comes with any sort of situation, as long as you have the discernment to decipher whether that conflict is good or bad. Then that is how you know where your success lies. That is how you will know that you are on the right track, because you are putting yourself out there every single day, and you are embracing all challenges, and you are reaping the benefits of those challenges, because you can discern that challenge is meant for you to build up your persona. And with that all being mentioned, this is all something that I have just learned, or I've probably learned in the past, but I haven't verbalized it up until now. But thank you all so much for watching, and Maxi for Maxwell, signing out.